I'm Trip Douglas.
Welcome home and stuff.
And I'm Ernie Douglas.
James Bond, Secret Agent 007.
And we're here to tell you.
Ernie!
Just a minute, Uncle Charlie.
Come on, Ernie, you're gonna be late for school.
We're doing a promo for Me TV and junk.
Ernie, Trip.
Yes, Dad.
Come here a minute, will you?
We'll be down in a minute. As I was saying. Tramp, be quiet. Tramp?
Hey, have you guys seen Robbie? Oh, hi, I'm Katie Douglas.
We're my three sons.
Ernie, I had to learn about women like Melissa through long, tough experience.
Let me make my own mistakes. They're half the fun.
And one daughter-in-law.
Thanks. Now I really feel like one of the family.
Watch me on Me TV.
You think girls are just boys' gift wrap.
Weekday mornings at 7, 6 Central on Me TV.
It's real neat.
Hi, I'm John Malos, and welcome to Connect with Me, live on the showroom floor here at Ventura TV. We're live today on Comcast, channel 187 and 43.6. And this morning we're going to be talking to Denny Boyles. He is the spokesperson for PG&E. If you have any questions about your bill, about natural gas, about electric rates, about anything, about solar power, we'll be talking about that. Call in at 265-4331. Back in a moment. Want to thank Denny Boyles of PG&E for coming in this morning. He was scheduled to come in on Friday, and then we had that natural gas pipeline that was ruptured at Shaw and 6th Street on Friday morning, so we kind of had the flip-flop. Nick Papagni actually filled in on Friday, and so today we've got Denny Boyles. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things. We'll be talking about solar power. We'll be talking about natural gas prices. How do they get natural gas out of the ground? It's a very difficult process, as you'll see in a moment here. We'll also be talking about electric rates. Hey, what is your bill, your PG&E bill? Do you have any questions about gas, about electricity that you pay on your PG&E bill each and every month? You can call in at 265-4331. But let's start off the program today by talking about natural gas, because it still is, technically speaking, you know, in the morning it's still a little bit chilly. You have to turn your heater on, and that is natural gas. We're using it. What is natural gas? Let's go to the videotape and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. It actually is the remains of plants and animals that lived millions and millions of years ago, and they've been compressed underground under very high pressure for a very, very long time. Of course, that environment creates natural gas. Now, after it's formed, the gas will rise toward the surface through loose shale rock and other material. You know, but many times the underground rock formations trap this gas, creating natural gas reservoirs. In the last 10 years, the technology has advanced in getting the gas out of the shale rocks. It's called fracturing or fracking. They'll drill a hole 1.5 miles down. A steel and cement casing in the borehole protects the groundwater, or so they say. Then water and sand are injected into the borehole, and voila, my friends, the natural gas comes flowing to the surface. It's then pumped into container trucks. It's hauled away from the site. Live in our studio now is Denny Boyles, spokesperson for PG&E. Believe it or not, he's a former journalist for the Fresno Bee. He covered City Hall. He covered the Fresno Police Department. Of course, a little history, a little lesson there on how they extract that natural gas from below the surface of the ground. They got to go 1.5 miles down just to get it. PG&E is not involved with that. They just buy the gas and they sell it to you and to me. 265-4331 is the number if you have a question about natural gas, electric rates, your PG&E bill. You must have some sort of question. We're back with our guest, Denny Boyles, in just a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean Dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
So what has been your PG&E bill like the past a month or 2 or 3 or this past winter? If you have any questions, you can call in at 265-4331. We have the expert right here in our house today. He's a spokesperson for PG&E. Denny Boyles, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, John.
Hey, thank you for coming on this Monday morning. I know you were scheduled to be here on Friday. How did that work out with that natural gas line fracture, that pipeline?
I would have definitely rather been here. It was quite a lengthy repair. Anyone who tried to drive on Shaw, I'm sure, noticed that. Around 3 o'clock Friday morning, a contractor doing some underground, what's called directional drilling, actually hit one of our transmission lines that runs underneath Shaw. Kind of highlighted, I think, for a lot of people, the difficulty of repairing that type of system. A steel pipe, you have to actually weld a fitting into place to be able to stop the flow of gas before you can even begin thinking about repairs. On Friday, it was a unique situation for us. Gas was flowing for about 24 hours before we were able to stop it, just because of the nature of the pipe and the nature of the accident.
And that creates a dangerous situation because, as you know, natural gas is flammable. And we all know what happened in San Bruno. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But for now, they contained it. And then what happened? Well,
the first step is obviously, we work with law enforcement and the fire department on public safety. We actually have what's called a joint incident command structure, which worked very well Friday. The fire department, the fire chief was actually in our vehicle, in our command vehicle. He was the incident commander. They set the public safety rules in terms of evacuations, and we were able to secure electricity.
How far out did you evacuate?
It was about 3 blocks, primarily on Shaw. And, it's a 6-inch high-pressure line, which for us is relatively small. Natural gas dissipates very quickly in the air. In this case, where the break in the line was about 8 feet underground. In the middle of the roadway, the amount of gas seeping out wasn't that large. The hole in the pipe turned out to be not that big.
Right.
But the phrase I always use is you exercise an abundance of caution when you're dealing with natural gas. We rely on the fire department and the police for their guidance in terms of how far they want to do evacuations. We did both PG&E and the fire department did air monitoring throughout the day. We visited 313 local businesses or buildings to check gas lines or gas levels inside. One of the concerns when you're underground is that it will migrate through any channel underground. So we were checking sewers even.
A little bit of history, of course, at the top of the program here on how they extract that natural gas out of the ground. They got to go 1.5 miles down, which is not an easy process. Now explain, PG&E is not involved in that extracting process, right?
We're essentially, you could call us an end user in some cases because we buy natural gas to operate some power plants.
Who do you buy it from?
A variety of people. There's pipelines, actually. Some of it's delivered by truck, mainly to propane companies. We go through pipelines that run through Southern California into the Midwest. Honestly, that I'm not really involved in that part of the business.
How many natural gas pipelines, how many miles of pipelines here in California? I think there's something like over 40,000 miles.
There's about 46,000 miles of different diameter natural gas pipeline in California.
And how many going through the Central Valley, would you say?
Well, some of the largest lines in the state, we have 2 large transmission lines that go through the length of our service territory. They actually run right along I-5. And then there are other transmission lines that deliver that gas to communities such as Fresno.
And so that line out there by I-5, it gets delivered from where, and then it comes here, right?
It comes into California, actually down by Barstow. And there's from the Midwest, various points in the Midwest. That's what
it comes in through Barstow and then goes where? Up through I-5?
All the way up. Our territory goes all the way up to the Oregon border, and the line can continue after that. The line is just like electricity lines.
We have lines that connect to the I-5 corridor to here, right? To the Central Valley. That's how it gets here.
And then there's other transmission lines that will cross into the different areas to serve cities, and it basically at that point it breaks down to a distribution system, which are smaller diameter pipes that operate at a lower pressure.
As much as we do complain about our PG&E bill, and I for one am one who does complain a lot about my bill, how high it is, but it is a lot cheaper to heat your home here on the West Coast than it is on the East Coast because they pretty much use oil on the East, heating oil to heat their homes on the East Coast. Why is that?
You know, I'm not real clear what the difference is. I don't know if it's an availability of gas. What I suspect is a lot of it is just the infrastructure. As we talked about before, you know, before
it's
pipelines,
an older infrastructure back on the East Coast, obviously.
Yeah. And before natural gas pipelines, you really didn't have it. You know, there wasn't the trucking industry that there is today, even.
Right.
So a lot of gas, you know, 100 years ago was manufactured locally. There were a variety of these manufactured gas plants, and they'd have very small pipeline systems or delivery systems from those plants.
Right. Let's take a look at some graphics here. Let's take a look at the PG&E CARE program as far as natural gas is concerned. Okay, if you're under the PG&E CARE program, you're paying about 78 cents per therm. It costs 30 cents for transportation, 48 cents for the gas. So that's pretty much the norm if you're on the CARE program, right, Denny?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that program, CARE, is California Alternative Rates for Energy. It's a social program essentially that the state
for low-income families.
For low-income families.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. The normal baseline for anybody like you and me, a normal baseline program, 98 cents per therm, 50 cents for transportation, 48 cents for the gas, Denny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that, I mean, how does that compare to like other states? Is that still fairly cheap?
You know, natural gas prices have been falling. I think that we're fairly competitive with other states. Part of it with gas is it's a bulk price because we have 5 million gas accounts. We're able to buy gas in larger volumes, drive the price down.
If you're a high user and you want to turn that thermostat up to like 80 degrees and you're above the baseline, that means you've got the above the baseline program. You're paying $1.28 per therm, 81 cents for transportation, 48 cents for the gas. I wonder how many people are above the baseline these days.
Actually, not that many in Fresno. We offer a program every year where if you reduce the amount of gas you use, you're paying more or less because you're using less, but you'll get a kind of a bonus on top of that of 20%.
And still, is that a competitive price even if you go above the baseline?
You know, the interesting thing with gas is it's not a profit commodity. What we charge, entails the cost of the gas, the cost of delivering it and maintaining the system. Our profit doesn't depend on how much gas customers use.
Right.
So it's not designed as a for-profit commodity.
And let's go to the next one. One final one before we go to the break here and take some calls. Natural gas delivered to residential customers per 1,000 cubic feet. Now remember, a therm is worth about 100 cubic feet. So you go this price right here times 10. Anyway, California is in at $9.41. Colorado is the cheapest at $7 per 1,000 cubic feet. We left the T off the feet there, by the way, but that's okay. not a problem. Nevada, Oregon, and Arizona seem to be a little higher than, well, not Nevada, but Oregon and Arizona seem to be higher, of course, than California in terms of per 1,000 cubic feet.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure. I've never actually looked at gas pricing in other states. It's set, just as it is here, it's set by their regulator.
But by looking at this chart right here, California seems to be relatively competitive with natural gas prices.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. Why the complaints then?
Well, anytime, energy costs can be a big factor for any customer.
Yeah.
Obviously, especially here in the Central Valley, it's probably second only to mortgage, especially in the summer. And you made the good point that we do get a lot of customers with questions about their bill. We have great people at our contact centers who can, go over a customer's billing history, help them figure out why their costs are so high, and if there's ways that they can make easy reductions.
All right, we're talking to Denny Boyles about your PG&E bill and gas prices. We'll talk about solar too. On the way out here, we're going to talk about many different things on this day. We'll talk about the natural gas pipeline that exploded, of course, in San Bruno. I know that's old news, but we'll get into a little bit of that. And also your phone calls at 265-4331. We're back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Weeknights on MeTV. Who loves you, baby?
You shouldn't ask.
It's Kojak.
Well, it sounds like music to my ear.
On MeTV.
Look at me.
Why do we love him?
Maybe it's the way I comb my hair.
Or maybe it's his trusty right-hand man.
More bite? Crocker! Crocker! Crocker!
Kojak!
Well, I just wanted to hear how it sounded.
Telly Savalas is Kojak.
Story of my life, baby.
Weeknights at 12:30, 11:30 Central on MeTV.
Who loves you?
We are going to talk about solar energy and solar power and what PG&E is involved with there. But when someone does decide to get solar, that affects their electric rates, right? That has nothing to do with natural gas.
Correct.
Okay. What's PG&E's involvement in solar?
It's interesting because we don't sell solar and we don't install it, but we do actually advertise for it.
Why is that?
California's energy market is driven essentially by energy conservation. Usage or demand in California has stayed flat on a per capita basis for the last 20 years because we have one of the most aggressive energy efficiency programs in the nation. The idea is that, there's been concerns about air quality in California for decades.
Yeah.
And it's not a secret that, especially in the past, power plants were contaminators. And so solar is just another way that we've looked to help clean up the air quality while providing our customers with clean and reliable energy.
All right. Now, years ago, when Gray Davis was still the governor, remember all those contracts that he signed, those electric contracts? I believe they were with Texas. Some Texas, and are those contracts still in effect? For
a lot of those are gone. I mean, what we're seeing now. So keep in mind, we're several years into what's called the Renewable Portfolio Standard process in California.
What is that?
It's been from several governors now, but the idea that by 2020, 1/3 of the electricity delivered by investor-owned utilities such as PG&E has to come from what are called eligible renewable resources. Smaller hydro projects that didn't exist before the program was put in place, wind projects, solar, geothermal, biomethane. There's a variety of eligible resources, and it's just an idea of removing carbon from the air, reducing pollution from power plants, and giving California a cleaner path forward.
All right, we're talking to Denny Boyles of PG&E. The phone number here is 265-4331. We're talking about gas prices. We're talking about solar. I had my home evaluated for solar because I was thinking about putting solar panels on. They said, no, we did the outlook for the next 20 years for your house. You're better off staying where you're at PG&E.
Yeah, I think that it's surprising to customers when they hear that. I can tell you, members, my mom had the same experience with a solar company.
Really?
She just, she has a small house.
The rates for solar would be higher over the next 20 years than with PG&E.
You're looking at the cost of the equipment versus, your recovery of that cost over 20 years typically. There's been a lot of creative financing models that the solar industry has come up with to help customers.
But how do you know the electric rates with PG&E won't go up for the next 20 years?
Well, they will.
If you sign with solar, you're locked in.
Yeah, and our rates will go up, and we can look back historically. They've risen, somewhere between 2% and 4% a year. There's been some years that were higher, but if you average it out,
that's what I don't understand, Denny. Is if I'm locked in for 20 years, won't that be cheaper over the long haul than to stick with PG&E?
I think it's different for every customer. If the thing I think to remember is it was a solar company that told you that, not us.
Right.
We're not. Right now in our service territory, we have 80,000 roughly customers with rooftop solar, homes and businesses. The governor has talked about a vision of 1 million solar roofs in California, and it's taken us 7 years to reach 80,000. So obviously that's not something that's going to happen throughout our service territory alone, which is essentially central and northern California.
Right. So there's about 80,000 solar homes throughout that area, that service area right now, and your goal is to get what, 1 million?
No, I mean the way the program is written right now, there's a couple different what are called I guess solar incentive programs.
Right.
We're coming toward the end of the initial one. We're actually taking the final reservations for it now, which was installation incentive. You got a rebate based on the size of the solar system you installed on your home. That program, it started at $2.50 a watt, and it's down to 25 cents a watt now. It was essentially a jump start. It would help the industry lower the cost for consumers, help the industry develop in the state. Everybody from the solar industry to the different utilities believe that program has been a complete success. It's done exactly what it was supposed to do. It's helped drive down installation costs by several dollars a watt. Which is essentially what you look at. I could tell you I have a 3.2 kilowatt solar system on my house. So when the program began, I mean, you would have been looking at $35,000 to $40,000 worth of material or equipment.
And so what would that be now? That
about
same
a third
system?
of that.
Okay.
About a third of that,
so
depending on the technology.
Down.
Yeah.
And do you get government rebates?
Mine was a lease. When I bought my home, it was already on. It was a lease through the builder.
So the solar panels were already on your home?
Correct. There's some home builders, that Granville, I think Lennar has a similar program. A lot of home builders now will do that as part of, the financing when you purchase a home, is that system will be in place.
Right. And you have to pay for that system, right?
Well,
depends, I guess.
Depends on the financing model you use. Some of them you purchase it outright. There's long-term lease, which I mean you're paying almost
nothing down.
If you buy a home
that already has panels on it, but you're still paying for the system, right?
Mine was a lease. It was in place when I bought the home.
Right.
So it's part of the purchase.
But you have to buy into the lease. Is
Correct.
What you have to do.
Yeah.
You can't. You don't get it for free.
Well, and looking at mine, so the lease payment was about $45 to $50 a month. The system has helped realize savings from $100 to $150 a month. So even on a low-end month, it's still a savings above electric costs.
Okay, we do have a phone call. Let's take it here. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great this morning. What's your question for Denny Boyles?
I wanted to know, are they using the digital meters, and how have they been going over with people?
Are you talking about the smart meters?
Yeah.
So, smart meters is an interesting program for us. Initially when it was rolled out, we were using an older technology, and there were some issues with it. Customers in Bakersfield can relate to that. That was where the first meters were installed.
That was an uproar.
Yeah, I mean,
last time you really talked about that. Okay, that was a big uproar.
Fresno customers have benefited from, by the time
How many
the program,
complaints on average about these smart meters?
It's really dropped. I can tell you, even with the opt-out, it's less than 1% of our customers that have chosen to opt out. In some places, it's 0.5%. I think that.
So how many here in Fresno have decided to opt out of the smart meter?
Probably 200 or 300 out of
really
about 400,000.
You can opt out of it.
Yeah, and it
for how much, or what does it cost?
I think there's an upfront cost of it's about, I want to say, between $70 and $100 depending on your home, and then there's a monthly charge that essentially it compensates for having to have someone still go out there and read the meter, as opposed to.
So you have to pay for somebody to come out and physically read that meter.
And keep in mind, smart meter wasn't a program that we initiated. We were told, you're going to do this as a way, and again, the CPUC.
Okay.
And again, if you look at it,
Public Utilities Commission.
Yeah, and if you look at it again, I mean, it's an environmental issue. The meters, you don't have to have someone out in the field reading it.
The complaint was way back when, and maybe there still are some complaints about it. It is the smart meter is not accurate, wasn't built right. It's a rip-off. It's a way for PG&E to make money, okay, without us knowing about it in a roundabout way. Those were the complaints.
Well, keep in mind, so what makes a smart meter different from a typical meter? A lot of customers in PG&E's territory have what were called analog meters, so they had the spinning wheel on them. Smart meters are digital meters, as the caller said. Digital meters have been used worldwide since 1980. The way that it measures the electricity flow through it has not changed. It's just the readout is different.
I don't think that was the complaint, though, or the concern. The concern was that PG&E was using meters that weren't working properly.
Well, and looking back, and the companies acknowledge this, I think one of our mistakes was saying there's never been a problem with one. The reality is, if you have one that hasn't worked, there's been a problem with them, and we've taken a different approach on that, and we have found some meters, that we're reading a little bit outside what you would consider acceptable.
Yeah.
But I mean, the stat that I think about all the time. So when smart meters were installed in Bakersfield, on an average month, we would have 7,500 customers whose bills had to be estimated for one reason or another.
Yeah.
We couldn't access it, whatever. It dropped down to 1,500 the first month we put smart meters in. And in terms of accuracy, we've taken a lot of steps to help customers, trust the meters, and it's working well.
All right, got to take a break. Denny Boyles is here from PG&E. Your phone calls 265-4331. We're back in a moment.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified, ready, steam-equipped, high-efficiency Frigidaire affinity place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Frigidaire laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
And we're back talking with Denny Boyles. We've talked about solar power, we've talked about natural gas, electric rates, and all that kind of stuff. Let's go to some graphics here. I want to put up a letter that was written here not very long ago in the Fresno Bee. This is the first letter. Right? That's kind of small, but you can still read that, right? That's pretty legible, I would say. In a February 3rd letter to the editor, Denny Boyles of Pacific Gas and Electric explains how they almost give away gas. Maybe he will explain the power rates. I live in an older home with an electric kitchen, TV, and computer. Even in the winter, I go over the basic rate. They are making money on the basic rate. My grandson lives just east of Dallas, Texas. He pays just over 12 cents a kilowatt hour for as much as he uses. No wonder PG&E is called Pacific Gas and Extortion. How can the state PUC justify this ripoff? You can see who wrote the letter there. What's your reaction to this letter?
Well, there's a couple things. We actually don't make a profit at the basic rate. Our lowest rate is about 12 cents. And then what they call the average retail rate, or the rate that we need to reach to break even, is 16. Our rates are set up, again, on an energy efficient basis. The idea with the rate system when we went to the tiered rates was to basically force consumers to conserve.
But doesn't that letter alone, does that say to you that PG&E still has a perception problem?
No. I mean, I would say I've been with the company 3.5 years. I've seen in that time an improvement in the way that we're able to communicate with our customers. And you're always going to have frustrated customers. And, it's going to be an ongoing challenge to us. But the more customers that we're able to talk to, I think, that explain and look at each customer's individual situation.
Put up the letter that you wrote to the Fresno Bee here not long ago. A letter from a reader on January 29th exaggerates Pacific Gas and Electric's profit margins from providing natural gas service to our customers. Our gas rates include not only the cost of buying gas from diverse and competitive sources, but also storing it to provide reliable service during peak winter demand, transporting and delivering it safely to more than 4.3 million customers, and paying for state-mandated programs such as our CARE discount for low-income customers and energy-efficient programs. PG&E makes no profit on its bulk purchases of natural gas. PG&E's rate of return on gas infrastructure investments is capped by the California Public Utilities Commission at 10.4%, signed by Denny Boyles, PG&E. So that's your response, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I remember the letter that prompted that. It wasn't actually the one you read before that, but it talked about they'd read somewhere that it was, we were making 20 or 30% that these projects we were doing were just to increase profit.
Right.
I can tell you, I don't think there's anyone in California who doesn't understand the risks of a poorly maintained gas system. And PG&E has stood up in front of the PUC, in front of lawmakers, in front of the public, and said, we recognize we weren't doing a good job.
Right.
Our record keeping wasn't adequate. Our inspections weren't adequate. We're making a lot of gains on that now.
Running out of time here on the program. 2.5 years ago, you know what happened in San Bruno. That pipeline blew up. Let's go to the videotape and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Turn to the monitor here, Denny. And I wanted just to ask you, first it was Aaron Brockovich. That was bad publicity for PG&E. This was bad publicity for PG&E. The S&P downgraded PG&E to a triple B because they said the pipe was not properly installed, safety standards were overlooked and ignored, integrity in inspections, maintenance was poor, response to the accident was slow, PG&E could have done a better job. Now, this was 2.5 years ago. What's the status now?
Well, I mean, what's interesting in both of those cases is you're talking about, with Hinckley and Aaron Brockovich and with San Bruno, things that originated decades ago. What's unique about the company is that we're still here. We're saying, you know what, we're gonna right these things that were wrong. And we've made a tremendous amount of progress. We've been able to validate, if not through record keeping, then testing, the pressure each of our pipelines should operate under. Every year we're replacing hundreds of miles of aging pipeline. It was a tough lesson to learn, but I can tell you that we've learned it.
Yeah, I think with the Hinckley thing, with the Aaron Brockovich thing, it was the fact that, it was difficult to get PG&E to even acknowledge that they had done something wrong, that they were responsible for all of those people becoming ill.
Well, and I can tell you, even based in Fresno, I've been to Hinckley several times. My boss here in Fresno is in Hinckley all the time. And, one of the challenges there is just the length of time it's going to take to clean that water up. But, we're there working on it.
Right. All right. Well, Denny Boyles, I appreciate you coming in and being so candid with us here. Hope you come back and hope we weren't too tough on you.
Nope.
And, I guess the gas rates, the electric rates, they're going to keep going up.
Well, I would just, as always, any customer that has a question for us, give us a call.
At what number?
1-800-743-5000.
Okay, and you'll get all your questions answered.
Every single one of them.
All right, Denny Boyles, thanks for taking the time to come in today. Hey, come back again soon.
I will. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. That's going to do it for us today here on Connect with Me. Thank you for calling in. Thanks for your phone call. We're going to be back tomorrow. The focus tomorrow will be on business. You'll be surprised at who the guest will be. back tomorrow. Have a good day.
Look at that. Isn't that a great layout? You son of a gun.
This campaign is no good.
No good?
Darren and Larry, the original Mad Men on Bewitched.